And welcome back to Community Focus, where it's all about what matters locally to you. I'm Noah Dingley. Thanks for joining me. We are in the dog days of summer. A few weeks left. It'll be all over. Kids will be back to school. But one thing I know is in the hustle and bustle, driving to and fro, maybe you're driving a little bit faster than you should be, or maybe there's other traffic laws that you just didn't pay attention to. You got the ticket. You're like, oh, gosh, darn it. And I am very aware of those because I have two past teenage sons. Yes, they're about 20 years old, and they have a bit of a lead foot. We'll just put it that way. But that's where my guest comes into play, and he's been doing this business for 15 years, and we're talking about GetDismissed. Let's welcome Steve Miller back to the program. Steve, how you doing?
Good, Noah. How are you doing?
Excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about, before we get to some of the other topics, about GetDismissed. Where'd you get the idea for it about 15 years ago, and what do you guys actually do? If somebody has never heard of your service and they have a ticket in front of them, they're like, $250. I don't want to have to pay this. Well, they don't have to, do they?
No, you don't have to just pay a ticket. You don't have to just go to court. There's a lot of options you have to deal with the ticket. And yes, we're GetDismissed.com, GetDismissed.com. And we've been helping people fight traffic tickets without going to court for almost 15 years. It's actually an option on the back of every ticket. It's called a trial by written declaration. It's been around since 1978. And it's really funny, in doing this so long, and we've done tens of thousands of tickets all around California, from Southern to Northern California for almost 15 years. People just don't know that you could fight a ticket without going to court. It's actually the best way in California to fight a ticket, and it's all done through a trial by written declaration. Basically, with our service, you get us a picture of your ticket, a picture of your driver's license. You go online or on our app, and you answer a few questions about what happened. It really takes no more than 5-10 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
Then we do all the work. Our system puts all your defense documents together. You just print the documents out, you sign the documents, you send it to the court by certified mail prior to the due date to fight the ticket. It's a much better way to fight a ticket than going to court and sitting in court with, in anywhere between 200 and 400 of your best friends and waiting for your name to get called and then getting all nervous in front of the judge, not knowing what to say. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be found guilty anyways. So you don't, I really want to, stress that. You don't need to go to court. There's no reason you should take a day off work and go to court to fight the ticket. Fight the ticket by mail. It's the best way to fight a ticket.
Now, Steve, when you go through this process, what's the success rate if somebody goes through this? You're like, yeah, but, I was obviously guilty, so I'm going to, in the end, it's not going to matter. Well, maybe that's not necessarily the case. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We hear that all the time. Hey, whether you're guilty or not guilty, to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter if you're guilty or not guilty. You are innocent until proven guilty. So let's say you got a ticket for going through a stop sign, and
okay.
the officer was to the left of you down the block, and they didn't see you stop all the way. And then you proceeded safely, made your turn or whatever you're doing. You could fight that ticket. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're guilty or not guilty. You have the right to fight the ticket. And with a trial by declaration, here's the unique part about it.
Okay.
If you go to court, you're going to be facing your prosecutor, basically the officer in most cases, unless it's a red light camera ticket.
And I'm guessing that's for the most part, that's his word against yours.
It's exactly. And you know what? I don't care what you're going to say to the judge. Who are they going to believe? Most of the time they believe the officer. And let me just dispel another myth.
Okay.
A lot of people think, I'm going to go to court, the officer's not going to show up. No, they show up. They are encouraged by their departments to show up. They batch their cases together, so they're dealing with, 20, 30, 40 cases, at a time. So officers do show up in court. Whereas, now this is the unique part, with the trial by declaration, they're required by law to reply in writing. Again, since you're not going to court, you're turning in a written defense document. They send that to the officer. The officer has to respond in writing. Now, the officers do not get paid extra to respond in writing. So they do it at their own time, their desk time, and they don't like doing it. They don't like replying in writing. They don't like doing extra paperwork. It's a pain in the butt for them to do. They rather be doing, what they're paid to do, get out there and make it a safer place to drive or safer place to live and enforce the law. They don't want to do paperwork. So a lot of times they don't do it. And if they don't do it, well, that is like the officer not showing up in court, and the ticket should be dismissed in that case. Or they rush through it and don't do a proper job at it. And then the judge reviews the officer's side of the case and your side of the case, and you have a much better chance of getting that ticket dismissed with a trial by declaration.
Yeah, that sounds like something that everybody can take advantage of. And again, you don't have to be necessarily guilty or not guilty, excuse me. You can still go ahead with this. And if there's a lack of information, that's going to benefit you, and you can get your traffic ticket dismissed. Steve, so what was your initial idea years ago to start Get Dismissed?
Yeah, good question. Well, I'll tell you, it all started with my brother actually getting a traffic ticket over 15 years ago. And, I've been in the internet business or web applications and things like that for years. And before that, I actually was a CPA and had a lot of business and internet sensibilities and ways to manage processes online.
Okay.
So in any case, my brother got a traffic ticket, and he said, hey, I got this traffic ticket. I don't know what to do with this ticket. And fortunately, he turned over the ticket to the backside of the ticket. And the backside of the ticket has all the information you need to decide what to do about the ticket.
And most people aren't going to read the other side of the ticket. I'm not going to lie. I've turned it over for additional information. I get about 2 lines down. I'm like, no, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah, that the print is like microscopic.
Yeah.
You need bifocals to read that stuff. And to be honest with you, you're right. Most people, probably 95% of the people, do not turn over the back of the ticket. They just, first off, they're frustrated. They got a ticket, they crumple it all up and they throw it in their back seat, or they put it in their glove box, and a lot of people forget about it and screw themselves up by passing the deadline anyways, and forget about reading the backside. Well, luckily, my brother did read the backside, and it gives you your options. You can take traffic school, obviously. However, you don't want to take traffic school if you don't have to, because you could only do it once every 18 months, and you don't want to give up your right to traffic school before you have to do it. And it doesn't dismiss the ticket. It just marks it as confidential, and insurance companies see that you had a ticket and see that it's marked confidential, which means you took traffic school, so they know you had that ticket. In any case, so that's one option. Another option is just pay the ticket and take the point. Well, you don't want to do that either, because that's going to cost you money, anywhere between $300 and $600 for the ticket, and then over 3 years of that point being on your record could be a few $1,000, depending on your record and the type of car you drive and your age and where you live and all that kind of stuff. And then the next option is to fight the ticket. Now, you could go into court yourself and fight the ticket. You can hire an attorney and fight the ticket, or they list it right on the back of the ticket, a trial by written declaration. It's right there on the back of the ticket. And, my brother said, hey, what's this trial by declaration? I said, I have no idea. Let's take a look. So we looked it up and saw that you can fight the ticket without going to court. So he went ahead and did that, and I helped him a little with that, and the ticket actually got dismissed. So he got the verdict back, and it said dismissed on it. He got his bail back. It's like it never happened. No point on the record. Didn't cost him anything. And then we looked around. Are there any people offering a service to help people with this? It's something that seems like people need and don't know about it, and nobody was doing it 15 years ago.
That is surprising. You would think that with something as successful as a written declaration and being, a nice alternative to get these tickets dismissed, that would be something kind of like a traffic school where you get a page of about 50 to 100 different people that offer the service.
Exactly. You would think so, because listen, it saves the court time and money if you're not showing up in the court.
Sure.
They would rather people fight a ticket via a declaration. And in fact, there's different proposals and bills going through right now, and a pilot program going through to enhance this process and make it more common for people to fight a ticket either with a declaration
Good.
or online. There's a committee put together, and there's funding for it. And I think within the next, let's say anywhere between 2 to 10 years, I really believe this is going to be the predominant way to fight a ticket, because they have to reduce people going to court. It costs way too much money.
Yeah.
They have, all the courts have websites. All the courts have online systems. They have to take it to the next system or next level to allow people a better alternative, a better way, a more convenient way, a way to save people money to contest a traffic ticket, which is your right to do.
Steve, let's. So 15 years ago, you started the business. Just about. It's coming up on the anniversary here. Let's flash forward till today. So now you were the only school, or not school. You were the only option back then for the service. Now today in 2018, as we plow through 2018 and going into next year, how many people are offering a service similar to this?
Yeah, well, what's happened over the last 15 years is it used to be just attorneys, helping people fight traffic tickets, going to court for them. It could cost anywhere between $500 and a couple $1,000s, depending upon, the type of ticket, from a speeding ticket or DUI or whatever it happens to be. So over the years, what's happened is with our service and the quantity and amount of tickets we've done, and we've definitely helped more people than any attorney in all of California.
Good job.
Tens of thousands of tickets. The attorneys have also added this service as a low-cost alternative to fight a ticket. And in addition, there's probably anywhere between 5 and 10 companies at any given time that exclusively do what we do.
That's still not a whole lot. It seems
not a lot at all.
Yeah, it still seems like it's a service that again, this is why a lot of people haven't heard of it. When I had first gotten the email from you a few months back, I was like, you can fight a ticket just by doing a written declaration. And it's so far, the more people that I've told about this, the more people I know they're like, hey, the next time I get a ticket, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it really is. And here's another thing. Why is it a no-brainer? Because it's a no-lose proposition in essence. For instance, if the ticket is dismissed, great. It's off your record, didn't cost you, the bail's returned to you, and it's like it never happened. If it is not dismissed, here's why it's a no-brainer. You're right back where you started. If you wanted to go to court to fight that ticket, you can still do that.
Yep.
And start over from the beginning. If you wanted to take traffic school, a trial by declaration does not eliminate your right to traffic school if you're eligible. So you could still go to traffic school. If you wanted to do nothing, you could still do nothing. So you don't lose out by doing a trial by declaration.
And I know
you could only gain.
And I know, Steve, by the way, we're with Steve Miller from GetDismissed.com. That's GetDismissed.com. If you want to get your ticket dismissed via a written declaration, hey, you don't want to pay the ticket, you don't want to plead guilty, pay that hefty fine, GetDismissed.com can help you out with that. But then again, Steve, I know there's people out there that are thinking to themselves, well, I was totally guilty, and so it's the ethical thing to pay the ticket. Okay, go ahead. If you want to pay the $250, I have no problem with that. Actually, not going to lie, if I'm guilty, I might probably go ahead and do that too. But if you know you're not guilty and you think the officer made a bad judgment call, you shouldn't have to pay this, that is definitely the best place for GetDismissed.com. So guilty, not guilty, it is totally up to you. But this is another way that you can do this, Steve, to save you some serious dough. Tickets now, as of 5 years ago, the prices have gone way up with pretty much all of your violations.
Oh yeah, way up. And here's another thing about that, and with the cost of that. Think about this. First off, 24 million drivers in California, about 4 to 5 million traffic tickets issued every year. It all depends on, how aggressive they get. The last stat I saw was that California's second leading revenue generator was traffic ticket revenue.
Wow.
So what does that say? California makes a majority of their money off of traffic tickets. So what is that really by raising those fines? It's really another way to tax.
Yep.
you in California, it's a hidden tax. It's a way to tax you without calling it a tax. And is that really fair? I mean, the traffic ticket prices for the fines are higher in California than anywhere in the whole nation, and there are more traffic tickets issued in California than anywhere.
You know, they can say, Steve, that different law enforcement agencies. I'm not going to pigeonhole any one particular area because they do a great job at protecting and serving the public. But they say that they're not out there to nab people, and there's no hidden quota. I don't know with what we just said if I necessarily buy that.
I don't buy that either. Think about this. Okay. In California, you're actually right, though. Quotas are illegal. They're not allowed to set quotas. There's some states where quotas are allowed.
Correct.
Not in California. You can't do that. But let's think about this. Let's say you've been on the job for 10 years, and another officer's been on the job for 10 years, and somebody is up for a promotion. There's a space open. And you look at one guy, and, he's giving out, 20 tickets a day. And you look at the other guy, he's given out 5 tickets a day. And let's say they're highway patrol, so that's, a big part of their job.
Correct.
Who's going to get the promotion?
I don't think
So are there quotas? They're not written quotas, but maybe there are unwritten quotas.
Correct. Also, one thing let's talk about, Steve. I know we kind of focused on this completely last time, and I definitely want to touch on it now. It's something that I've made it, I'm going to say I made it a priority, and I still haven't done it yet, but I am going to do it, is the new Real ID that's being launched in California. It's also in other states, already active. People have to have it by October 1st. 2020. Let's go ahead and refresh people's brains. What is the Real ID? And, is it something they have to have? And if they don't have it, what are the consequences?
Sure. Now here's another thing that people really don't know about. The Real ID actually is part of the Real ID Act of 2005. All the way back then, it's a response from 9/11 to create a better, more secure ID card. Whether it's a driver's license or just an ID card, across the nation. This isn't just California. This is every single state, a more secure way. Because, you look at these ID cards today, and, there's a lot of phony ones out there. There's a lot of people, that can get, and I'm not going to get into the subject of, illegal or not illegal people here. That's a whole different topic. But just about anybody can get an ID card, a driver's license or ID card.
Oh, yeah.
Now with the Real ID Act, it created more stringent standards to get that card, and you actually have to go into the driver, to the DMV, and you have to show them different proof of identity, and you could bring a passport, a birth certificate. You have to show that you're a resident, like bringing a rent lease or a mortgage statement or a utility bill. You have to actually show your Social Security card. There's different things that you have to bring, and the DMV site has a list of those that you have to bring to prove your identity. Now, what is a Real ID used for? Well, I already mentioned that it's a more secure ID card, and it went basically into effect here in January of this year. So you can go to any DMV office and you could update if you're due for a new driver's license, or if you just want to get the ID card, you can go in and get that card. We recommend making an appointment at the DMV. You know how busy they are, and they become even busier with the people upgrading to the new Real ID. Now, what's going to happen, there's basically a couple-year window, about a 2-3 year window to October of 2020. Mm-hmm. If you intend to travel within the United States, let's say you're going from California to Arizona or Nevada or even all the way to New York or whatever state it is, you're going to have to, by October of 2020, you're going to have a Real ID card to board that plane. Just like if you were going to another country and you needed a passport. If you do not have a Real ID card, you actually have to bring a passport by October 1st, 2020. So it's to your advantage to go get that Real ID. Now, if you never intend to travel and, take a plane to another state, you actually don't need the real ID. You can keep your, current driver's license. It's basically a more secure way to identify yourself and to travel, and is required unless you're going to bring your passport if you're going to be traveling as of October of 2020. So you got a couple of years. The sooner the better, especially if you're due for a new driver's license. Don't renew it and mail it in and get the same license. You might as well upgrade to the real ID.
Yeah, mine's expiring here soon. That's why I told myself, just go ahead, just get it done now. Then you're going to save yourself the pain of not being able to make the time for it later. And
exactly.
I look at it like this, Steve. Even if you're not planning to travel, all of us have family and friends, for the most part, that live in different states. And if an emergency happens, heaven forbid, after October 2020, and you got to get there, and obviously, let's say we're in California, something happens in Virginia, you're not going to want to drive to Virginia, unless you can take, the 2 weeks off work and you want to make the scenic route, great. But most of us can't do that, and so you're going to need to board a plane, and you're going to need to have the real ID, so you might as well get it done now.
You might as well. There's really no reason not to have that, and it's just a more secure ID card, of better proof of identity, things like that.
And I found something else out today that I didn't know about the real ID. If you don't get one, and that's your option, you'll actually get a separate thing. I believe, I don't know if it's on the actual driver's license or an additional card, Steve, but it's going to say federal limits apply on it.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's on the back of the card.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Gotcha.
And basically, it tells you that you could still vote with your normal driver's license. They don't require a real ID, but think about that. Maybe. Again, a whole different conversation, but maybe in the future, the real ID card will be required if you're going to vote to prove your identity.
Well, and not to, go off on a tangent here, but, where it's a good thing to know who's boarding a plane, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for the most part, I think people would want, when you go out and make a vote, no matter who you're voting for, you want to make sure that it's actually a real person and not, as has happened in past elections, hey, this person's already dead, but yet they voted. How did this happen? That could be something beneficial too, Steve.
Absolutely. Then you have, real elections with your real ID.
Wow.
Exactly.
Go figure that.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of funny. They've been talking about that the last couple of weeks here with all the political drama going on, and I was thinking to myself, actually, about the real ID. I said, it's not that complicated, people. Either do something like the real ID, you be able to use that for that, or have a separate card, and your problem is solved. It's that easy.
Yeah, it's really easy. Absolutely.
But politicians tend to make it a lot harder than it's supposed to be. Okay, Steve, moving right along, let's talk about red light camera tickets. And yeah, I have gotten one of those too. Are those indeed like real tickets, or because I see some of these things still going off, but they're supposed to be like shut down? What's the deal here?
Yeah, so much misinformation out there, so many myths. People, have heard over the years, different cities have turned off red light cameras. They've heard misinformation that they're illegal, misinformation that, hey, if you get one of those, just ignore it. You don't have to do anything about it. All of that, that's all absolutely incorrect. A ticket is a ticket. If you get a red light camera ticket, that is a valid ticket. It is a real ticket. If you do not deal with that ticket, whether you fight it, pay it, traffic school, trial declaration, whatever you do, if you don't deal with it and just throw it away, you will get an FTA, that stands for failure to appear. You'll get an additional $300 penalty added onto that $490 ticket for a red light ticket, and you'll get sent to collection. You don't want that.
No.
Deal with the ticket. Where the misinformation occurs is a few cities around California have actually turned off their red light cameras. So if you're in a city that has turned off the red light camera, how can you get a ticket in that city? You can't. The camera's off. Can't take a picture if it's not, firing pictures. So anywhere you do get a picture, the camera is on. It is a legal ticket. That city enforces red lights with red light cameras, and you have to deal with that ticket. Talk about fake news. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. There's a lot of fake news out there that says that You don't have to deal with it. It's not real. Do not believe that.
Steve, you didn't mean the internet isn't the gospel? My kids swear by the internet.
Yeah, just have them look it up on WikiLeaks or Wikipedia or something. Yeah, it must be true. Right.
Exactly. Well, we are wrapping up with Steve Miller. He's the founder of GetDismissed.com, GetDismissed.com. There is another option, guys. If you don't want to pay the ticket, and especially if you're not guilty, this is a great option for you. If you are guilty and you want to pay, that's your option too. If you maybe want to see if you can get the ticket dismissed, I think it's fine. GetDismissed.com. It is an option you should consider. Steve, before we run out of time, let's also talk about, there's a book that you offer. If people want to get the book, what's within the book? Where can they get it?
Yeah, you can get the book. It's actually our fourth book. It's called Get Dismissed, the sequel. You can get it on our website. You can get it on Amazon, paperback or digital copies. And in the book, it talks all about how to fight a traffic ticket, your different options. It obviously talks about the trial by written declaration. It talks about red lights, distracted driving, speeding, real ID, a lot of myths out there, facts and circumstances, and a lot of good information you should know about just if you get a traffic ticket or driving safely.
Excellent. Well, go to GetDismissed.com for that reason as well. And for any future updates on what's going on the California roadways, stay tuned here to Community Focus, because you can be guaranteed we'll have Steve Miller back at some point to be talking about that and also giving us a refresher about things going on the San Diego and California roadways. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time, my friend. And
you're welcome, Noah.
I hope you've enjoyed your summer, and we look forward to these hot days just coming to an end, like seriously, soon.
Exactly.
More coming up on these very same Salem Network stations. Stay tuned. I'm Noah Dingley.